We start with that major police investigation this morning into an anti-Semitic tirade at a southwest Sydney hospital.
Two New South Wales nurses allegedly boasting about refusing to treat Israeli patients, claiming they would kill them.
But I'm so upset that you're Israeli. Like, eventually you're gonna get killed and you're gonna go to Jahannam, inshallah.
One day your time will come and you will die the most.
The pair on shift at Bankstown Hospital in Sydney's West were speaking to Israeli content creator Max Vifa, who has now spoken about the exchange.
As soon as they found out that I'm from Israel, they started cursing me and threatening me that they're gonna kill me, that they're never gonna treat Israeli patients at their hospitals. I was shocked. I was shocked, but I had a mission to accomplish, you know. I had to expose them, so I had to stay calm and get as much info as I can so I can post it and show my people and we can find them.
For more on this, let's go live to today's Sydney reporter Jack Hahn at Bankstown Police Station this morning. Jack, the pair are expected to appear there today.
Yeah, that is correct, Sarah and Carl. Good morning to you both. New South Wales Police have not laid charges this morning, but the anti-Semitism strike force set up in Sydney have been investigating all night and are likely to speak to the two former nurses in this video sometime today. So we know that detectives overnight have reportedly spoken to the Israeli man on the other side of the video, asking him for the raw video itself to help them pinpoint what charges could be laid against the two nurses in this video, Amid Rashir Nadar and Sarah Abdu Lebdar. Both were working at Bankstown Hospital on night shift, supposed to be treating patients, but instead they jumped on an online video forum speaking to the Israeli man, telling them that they would not treat Israeli patients and that they would rather have them die and go to hell. New South Wales Health swiftly sacking the pair in the video after it emerged and conducted a very quick investigation. But initial inquiries this morning suggest that Jewish patients have not been hurt deliberately at Bankstown Hospital. As we saw, the Israeli man in the video has spoken out overnight.
It's insane that so far away in Australia, the hate has gone so far. I think they should launch another investigation, you know, to look up if they've done anything, you know, in the past, because the way they were talking is just, I don't know. I mean, I exposed two nurses, but how many else are there?
And to that point he just brought up, the New South Wales Health Minister Ryan Park has simply said yesterday during many press conferences and media appearances, if you have any sympathy and you work in New South Wales Health for those comments, well, simply do not come to work this morning. So he's made that very clear. As for the two nurses in this video, well, the female nurse is said to be having a panic attack, while the male nurse says that he was just joking. Sarah.
All right, Jack, thank you.
Meantime, federal MPs are uniting in a bid to crack down on anti-Semitism at Australian universities. Let's go live to Today Federal Politics reporter Liz Daniels in Canberra. Liz, they want new laws to sack staff.
Carl, it is a bipartisan push after a parliamentary inquiry heard testimony of rising, quote, brazen anti-Semitic incidents on campuses. Pro-Palestinian protests and encampments have led to Jewish students and staff saying they felt unsafe. And in response, a suite of recommendations from this committee, including that the government should consider changes to workplace laws to make it easier to discipline or even sack staff and researchers for hate crimes and racial discrimination. That has the support of both the Coalition and Labor, but the Greens have raised concerns, saying there are already legal protections in place for employers. Ahead of the start of semester, the Higher Education Watchdog has already warned universities that they should be telling students about penalties for racist behaviour. As for any potential law changes, Carl and Sarah, well, today could be the last time Parliament sits before an election if the Prime Minister does decide to go early before May. So legislation, it could have to wait until the next term of government.
Liz, thank you.
Now to that news that is breaking overseas this morning. US President Donald Trump announcing talks to end the war in Ukraine will begin immediately. Live to US correspondent Reid Butler. Reid, this comes after a phone call with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin.
Jane, the hope is this could mark the beginning of the end to the conflict in Ukraine, which is about to enter its fourth year. Obviously, very, very early days, but this 90-minute phone call is really significant between the US President Donald Trump and Russian President Putin. The first time the pair has spoken since Trump assumed office last month. What followed that phone call was another phone call between Trump and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And everyone right now apparently seems to be singing from the same songbook in terms of being willing to work with the United States. Zelensky has just posted on X, "I had a meaningful conversation with President Trump. We long talked about opportunities to achieve peace, discussed our readiness to work together at the team level and Ukraine's technological capabilities." Now, this follows the release of American prisoners, including Mark Fogel, an American schoolteacher who's been imprisoned in the United States for several years now. He's now back in home soil in exchange for a Russian national who was imprisoned in the United States. The White House press secretary is right now holding a media briefing about all of this. Here's a little snippet of that.
I myself just spoke to the president about these calls, and he told me to tell all of you they were very good calls, they were very positive, and the administration is wholeheartedly committed to a peace deal to end once and for all the Russia-Ukraine war.
Now, there are still obviously so many questions about this. Primarily, what would Russia realistically be willing to do to agree to a ceasefire here? All of that will likely be the subject of these negotiations in the days, weeks and months ahead. Jane?
Reid, thank you. Victoria is bracing for a day of extreme conditions with total fire bans in place for parts of the state. Live to today's Christine Ahern in Melbourne. Christine, there are plenty of fire danger warnings in place.
Yeah, that's right, Jane. The Weather Bureau has issued a fire weather warning for the north, central, southwest and central districts of Victoria. So that includes Melbourne. There's a total fire ban in place for those areas as well. It is going to be very hot here in Melbourne, a top of 37 degrees. But what has the Weather Bureau so concerned is that there is also going to be gusty northerly winds of up to 45 kilometres an hour. Of course, those two combined does pose a very big fire risk. And we already do have those fires burning in the state's west around the Grampians area. Already here in Melbourne this morning, it is 27 degrees. There is going to be a cool change sweeping through the state this afternoon. However, the Weather Bureau warns with it is the chance of thunderstorms and dry lightning. So that poses another fire risk. So, Jane, while it is going to be a very hot day here in Melbourne, the Bureau is warning it's an extreme fire danger day as well.
OK, Christine, thank you. A man has been taken to hospital and another is speaking with police after a crash in Sydney's west. A white Hilux rolled at Layla Park just after midnight. It's believed to have been toppled in a pursuit. The car has been seized for forensic investigation. A 19-year-old is in hospital this morning following a stabbing in Melbourne CBD. Officers were called to Queen Street about 10:30 p.m. with reports of a man wearing a backpack running from the scene. Police couldn't find him. The victim has serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Large parts of Western Australia are bracing for cyclone Zelia, which has overnight strengthened to a Category 3 system. That system is continuing to intensify and is expected to reach Category 4, bringing damaging winds of more than 250 kilometres an hour, with Port Hedland in the impact zone.
As the system forms, it'll drift southwards, but there's not a lot of confidence in where the path of this system will take it.
I urge people in the Pilbara to take action now to stay safe.
The warning zone extends 700 kilometres from Bidjadanga to Dampier. Frustrated residents in Brisbane's southern suburbs are taking matters into their own hands, patrolling streets at night amid a spate of break-ins. Live to Today Queensland reporter Andrea Crothers. Andrea, locals are clearly fed up.
Jane, they sure are. The Rochdale South Neighbourhood Watch group has only been operating for a matter of months, yet it already has 3,000 members. Some help patrol streets at night. Most post activity as it occurs on the Facebook page, break-ins in their streets, other suspicious movements as well. This comes as police continue to hunt for a group of armed thieves that have been terrorising suburbs across Brisbane South this week. We've seen those servo break-ins. One worker held captive for 5 minutes as they raided that particular store. In fact, 12 suburbs have been targeted in this crime spree. Even a Queensland police officer's home hit in the action as well. Now, the Queensland's Youth Justice Minister, Laura Gerber, she was asked whether the government's youth crime laws were actually working. She says they need more time. Jane?
OK, Andrea, thank you. Victoria Police have defended the violent takedown of a woman accused of lighting a fire and attacking a worker inside a Melbourne petrol station. Video shows the 46-year-old aiming a makeshift flamethrower at the employee before she was taken down by officers in Windsor yesterday.
She was obviously metres away from live petrol houses at that time as well, and the officers needed to address that situation immediately.
It would have blown up my business, would have blown up probably the apartment building.
She will face court in May on several charges. It's been revealed cancer conwoman Belle Gibson is still yet to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of court-imposed fines. Gibson was ordered to pay $410,000 back in 2017 for making and profiting from false medical claims and fraudulent donation claims. That figure has now ballooned to over $500,000.